Hello all, my name is Pack, and this is a free-to-play guide for Mongil Stardive version 1.2.0. So we have our table of contents here, which will have an intro, important free-to-play ball knowledge, just general knowledge, and teams that you can go, FAQ, and a tier list at the end. So again, this is intro. I am Pack, and the purpose of this guide is to give a different outlook for free-to-play players regarding monster links and traits, as well as a variety of teams that you could run. I've been playing the game since launch, and I am a free-to-play player at heart. There are 2 months of testing and playing of different teams, using different monster links. I believe this guide can provide a valuable resource if you are struggling with the mentioned above. I'm a pretty competitive player, and so I always try to find ways to maximize my damage, knowing that I will not commit to the highest, stars or awakening. If you want to see big damage, then my friend, this is the place for you. And also if you just want to learn something new, right? I will try my best to inform whilst keeping the guide clear and concise. And this video will be in this slide if, again, you want to see a, general of the slide. Important free-to-play ball knowledge. Myself, as a free-to-play player, have tested a multitude of traits, and the ones below are standard that every free-to-play player should go. Attack, crit damage, elemental, special skill cooldown, or CDR for short, and damage to boss enemies. Looking at the picture above, these are the best combinations of traits that will maximize the amount of damage that you, as a free-to-play player, can do. We'll go into more depth later. So my reasoning for going these as a free-to-play player are single-handedly artifacts. I have the best stats. Keep in mind this is without food, and I am at 8.1k attack, as you can see from right here. Excuse me. If we remove the 15% we get from our monster links, we will get 7.1k attack. If you have a maxed artifact, F5, right, as you can see, you will get a 15% boost to your attack. That means that your artifact is getting you back to that 8.1k attack. This means that if you have a maxed out artifact, you do not need attack from your monster links. But if you are a free-to-play casual player, you need to go attack on every monster lane that you run. There's no questions asked. Remember, everything scales off of your attack. So that'd be crit damage, crit rate, damage to boss enemies, elemental weakness damage. All of it scales off of your attack, which is why it's such a viable stat that you'd want to go. Now, with the next 2 universal stats for your traits, damage to boss enemies is 1. It's straightforward. There isn't any other consistent way to get more damage in this category, so it's a must. Next is CDR, again, special skill cooldown. After testing, going 3 CDR traits is better than going 3 elemental weakness. Right. And if any of you have taken the economics class, you might be familiar with the term opportunity cost. You might think, oh, okay, then if we want 3 attack, then let me just go 3 elemental weakness damage and 1 CDR trait. Sure, that will give you a bit more damage, but let's look at what we lose in going that route. We lose out on the extra damage in rotations, and remember, 95% of the roster relies on special skill to deal that extra damage. It's better to lose that 20% elemental weakness damage in favor of the added minus 45% CDR, as you'll get more damage in the long run, given you have more skill rotations. For example, let's say we have a character whose default special skill is at 12 seconds. 15% of 12 seconds, will save you this math, it's 10.2 seconds if you have 1 CDR trait. Now, if we have 45% of 12 seconds, it is going to be 6.6 seconds. Now, if we are fighting a boss for 2 minutes, the 6.6 seconds is around 18 full intervals, while 10.2 is around 11 full intervals. That would be 7 more special skills than what you would normally get. And 18 intervals and 11 intervals being special skill in this case. Another reason for going 3 CDR and 1 elemental weakness is just the sheer amount of elemental weakness that you get from monster links like El Dorado, Fiend, and now Reginula. losing 20% when you are stacking it constantly and stacking so much, it's not going to make much of a difference, because a lot of the stats in this game have diminishing returns. It's going to get to a certain point where, like, the difference between you being at 40% crit rate, if you get more crit rate, it's going to, you know, add a lot more than if you were to get some crit rate at 70%. It's not really going to affect your overall damage too much. A good rule of thumb to figure out which monsterling, I forgot. Bullet. Then look at the flex slots. You want 2 crit damage traits since it's so valuable, with the crit damage cap being 300 and 1 elemental weakness damage to balance it out. Now we get here. A good rule of thumb to figure out which monsterling will get the 1 elemental weakness is to ask ourselves, which monsterling has a link chain that is useful to use? For example, Fiend has a great link chain, so get elemental on him. Another example could be Duoxini. He has a good link chain. Go elemental on him, right? Blue Shadow. You know, all of these that have good link chains that you'd want to run and want to use, go elemental on them. Scar does not have a good link chain, so go elemental on, or don't go elemental on him, right? The thing about it is, you know, link chains that you're going to use. You're going to use Fiend as your link chain. You're going to use El Dorado as your link chain. You're going to use, you know, those as your link chain. You're not going to use Amon as a link chain, so put, you know, crit damage on him. Don't put elemental. You're not going to use Scar as a link chain. So think about it like that. However, the ultimate end goal is to go 2 of each monsterling, 1 with elemental and 1 without elemental weakness. How to get the best gear. So gear in this game is what you will put on your characters that will increase their stats. Attack, crit rate, HP, fire resistance, earth resist, etc. There are many types of gears that you can get throughout playing this game. There is only one that will always be ran. That is the legendary gear, since it gives the highest number value for stats. Don't mix and match 4 stars and 5 stars, because trust me, I did the same thing. Thinking, oh, those you know, set effects, they seem good. Trust me, legendary gear, they will give you the highest number of value stats for this. It's just better. And with how many people do lightning affliction or fire affliction, you might think like, oh, maybe it's not like that applicable. It's just better to go every single time. You can get this gear from playing the conquest mode and reaching higher levels. Once on these levels, you will have a chance to get crafting material for that boss's gear. When you get enough, you can go and craft the legendary gear from that boss. Now, this is where the fun begins. If you know where that code's from, you're G. If you're starting out, keep what you get. This is like, I'm just gonna say it right now. Let's say your favorite team is fire. Get the gear, just get the legendary gear. Just keep what you have. But the end goal is that you want to have these stats on every bit of your gear. Attack, crit rate, crit damage. Attack, crit rate, crit damage. Attack, crit rate, crit damage. Right? So you need to obviously craft and roll to get lucky to get these 3 stats on every piece of gear. Tedious, yes, it can take days to maybe even get 1 set, maybe even a week or 2, but it's a necessary RNG evil. And there are multiple ways that you can get good monster links, like how to craft good monster links. This is just a little video explaining the best way to do it, in my opinion, and the most secure way to do it. So if you want to, you can go back and watch that video there. Now, this is some general knowledge. Now that I've bestowed upon you the forbidden free-to-play method, I will go over some good monster links to go early on and how buffs work. I also want to clarify how I'll be making the teams and fairly assessing each role and each character in their role. Legendary monsterling, of course, with the introduction of Reginula, this is now a must get. You need to get this. The traits you can get are absurd. 20% for both elemental weakness and damage to boss enemies, as well as 10% attack and 15% from all the damage boosts on go traits. Again, damage boost being fire damage boosts, you know, wind damage boosts, etc. Crit damage is still 15%, crit rate still 5%, so it's not that valuable. For every player, the best stats are going to be attack, elemental weakness damage, damage to boss enemies. As for the last stack, As for the last stat, your safest option is either going crit damage or crit rate, right? That's general. You can go on everybody. It's cool. You can also go into the damage boost if you like, right? I feel like for this last trait, it really is just whichever suits you best. If you have a win team that's your favorite, or it's your best team, then go win damage. If fire is your favorite team, or your best team, then go fire damage. You don't need 15% crit damage or the 5% crit rate, so you really have options. It's all up to you. You get to choose. You yourself, the viewer, get to choose. So make it on your team, on what you want. Lamon and 4. These are what I believe to be the best 4 mons that you can get in the game, since they're universal. You can run them on every team. You have Scar, Eldorado, Amon, and Golgak, with some honorable mentions being Ice Fist Dude and Fiend. This is me just going over. If you can read these if you want. That's just what they do. Amon is just, honestly, Amon is probably the best monster link in the game. Just giving that crit rate, freeing up their space on your main DPS is just that valuable. Golgak is also really good. Scar is really good. Eldorado is really good. Again, you can read that later if you want. And just to summarize this, I'm just I tested this as much as I can, and you saw Amon and Eldorado have this wording where it says teammates and it has an apostrophe. This, after testing, we can assume, or it's safe to say, that this applies only to your teammates and not the character that has it equipped themselves. So Nare is an example of this. In her A2, it gives teammates 22% attack, but it only applies to your teammates and not Nare herself. Characters like Reyna at A6 or Jiwon, they have in their kit or their awakening all teammates, which applies it to other characters and the characters themselves. And again, I say this because Amon and Eldorado have this wording, teammates with an apostrophe, which makes it safe to assume that the buff only applies to teammates and not the character with it equipped. If you played other gacha games, I've played Dragon Ball Legends, so this type of wording is common and it can be pretty confusing. In Dragon Ball Legends, they have the same wording where it's saying, if let's say you had Goku and an equipment, and then on that equipment, if it said, if an ally is Goku, right? Like that equipment is checking for the character itself and the rest of the characters on your team. This is kind of that same wording here, if you're a bit confused on there. And again, we can look at this. Reyna gives all teammates celestial energy, and this is Reyna's buffs, or this is her active effects. So this also applies to Reyna herself. Same with Jiwon. You see her effect is granted to all teammates, and she gets this buff herself. And you have Nare. Teammates attack increases by 22%, but this only applies to teammates, not Nare. Nare does not get this 22%. She only gets this from her passive. You can see though, she gets the ice damage boost that she gives to all teammates on her special skill. She gets the special skill damage boost because on the wording it is all teammates. Now this is important. As we go and we look at the teams, I'm going to be classifying each character in one of 3 roles depending on the team composition. MD, or main damage, off-fielder, and support. The characters themselves will be given a role best suited for their playstyle. Main damage, or MD for short, they're characters that want to be controlled and stack up damage. These are the ones that will do the bulk of your team's damage. Off-fielder. These are characters that don't have as much high stats on their basics, so they are better used in providing quick burst damage from their skills and or support damage from when they switch out. Supports are pretty self-explanatory. They are characters that provide buffs, healing to the team, or debuffs to the enemy. When looking at the teams, I will classify each character in their best performing role for that team. I am also going to base every character at A0. It's really important that you know that. And I will specify which character needs investments and which aren't good at any awakening. So now that we have that out of the way, we have Table of Contents version 2. So For this section in particular, you want to click on where you want to go to. Try not to go forward, because if you go forward, you're gonna get confused, you're gonna get lost. I think here it's like, whoa, buddy, stop it. And then, you know, go back. That's not gonna be on every slide, but just be careful. Make sure you are clicking the hyperlinks to go to and from to where you want to go. So let's say I want fire. I want to see Verna. So let's go fire. So you're going to click on a character to see their role and their summary. So let's say I want to do 4-star Verna. Oh wow, we see 4-star Verna. She's a fighter. We see her class, her element. This is her power spike, to where I feel that the character actually comes online. Best in slot would be their best artifact and their role, you know, based on the character's kit and their identity and what they want to do. And I have a little summary here. So we have, even though Verna is my favorite character in the game, I'll keep my biases aside. Best is an off-fielder for passive, damage mediocre at best. Her ult is a reliability stack resist reduction from her skills, you know. And this is all basing the character off of A0, not A6. This power spike is just like for the character to do good. This summary, I am just explicitly going over the character at A0. And we go back here and we can look at, let's say, Flare. All right, again, Flare, I say her power spike is A2. Her best in slot is Exquisite Dragon of Fire, and she's best played as an off-fielder. As you can see, this is a summary, and I'm going it off of A0. You see how I explicitly state at A1, right? So I'm telling you, at A1, she gets better as she gets defense training by 15% now. And then I say A2, I'm specifying at A2. So just keep in mind when you're going through all these character summaries, they are at A0 unless I specifically am mentioning them at Owen Awakening. And if you want to go to recommended, you're going to see the teams that I think that are best for these characters, with the first one being the best or the most optimal team. You'll have their monsterlings here, you'll have their role, and you'll have just a little note as well as a rotation. If you want, you can read it and you can watch the video. You can see, oh, yeah, Verna here. Oh, Francis. Whoa. I said, whoa. And then you see just the best way to play this character, right? And when you press recommended, you'll have to go through all the teams first. So like, you know, check it out. All the teams, right? All the teams until you get to the final slide of this team. You just press back when you're done, right? At the end of each recommended team, you will see this where I'm playing the best team and I'm being Awakening 1 to show you that I'm not just all talk. I actually play the game and I've tested these teams, right? That's why I have the videos to show you that I'm not just giving you garbage. I'm not giving you rubbish. I am giving you teams that I have personally spent hours upon hours testing, finding the most optimal builds. This is not like something I'm just throwing on a whim. No. And when you're done, go back. You'll get taken back to fire, and you'll go back again to get taken back to the table of contents. I'm not gonna spoil anything else. If you want to go check out the other characters, the other teams, this is here. The guy's gonna be in the comment section, or not in the comment, in the description, or in the Discord server, the official Mongil Discord server. Now we have FAQ. This is just some questions that I feel like we'll be asking. If you have any questions, again, leave it in the comments or on Discord. You can DM me, whichever. This one is just saying why no Ice Fist Dude. I'm assuming that's what people will ask. Ice Fist Dude gives you 11% elemental weakness crit rate. That is really good, right? But the further you get in this game, when you have the best stats and you have Amon crit rate, let's say with Amon and Ice Fist Dude, you're going to get 82% crit rate, right? Lose that 11%, you're going to be at 71% crit rate. And a good rule of thumb for all these types of gacha games where they have crit rate, if you are over 70% crit rate, you're pretty much going to be critting 1 in every like 4 hits. And it's just negligible from 70 to 82. Remember, diminishing returns. From 40 to 60, you're going to feel that crit rate a lot more. But from 70 to 80, it's not really going to make much of a difference. But if you do not have a mon for that team setup, you will see. If I do not have a mon for that team setup, I am going to be going Ice Fist Dude because I will not have the crit rate that I get from a mon. There's a lot of characters that can easily apply a mon, so that's why I don't go Ice Fist Dude most of the time. They're just better options. I feel as though there should be more teams, like double support. Yes, I know that I could have put more teams that have the pure intention of buffing up one character to deal the damage. In my opinion, I do not classify those as teams. Those teams are more of a one-man army, and they're not optimal unless you have higher awakenings or higher artifacts, and you're trying your absolute best to get your highest score at Legendary Conquest. If I were to put something like that for every element, it would take me far longer to do. And again, this is taking me like 2 weeks to make. And personally, it isn't fun to use those teams. It's not fun. It's not optimal, right? These teams in this guide, they're unique. They work, they flow well with each other, which is how a team should play. Again, if you want to run double support, big ups to you. Be my guest. Go ahead and run them. They're fine. They're good, sure. But I do not consider them as teams, and I will not put them as guide for newer players or casual players to use because it's just not fun teams to run, in my personal opinion. So now if you want, you can go back. Let's go back to the FAQ. And also if you press back here, you go back here. And lastly, we're going to look at the tier list. This is just all the characters considered at A0, right? Which characters are strong at base kit, which of them need investments to really become a bit better, and these are characters that are weak even with investments. 5-star Verna and 5-star Francis are A tier, while Nagi is B tier because I forgot to put them on the tier list. These are the characters at each of their power spikes you have here if you need a reference, and I am basing them on this tier list with strong, solid, or good, niche picks, and underwhelming. You have a video here that I go into depth more if you want to see, and that is the guide. It will be updated after every major patch, so like when Maybell comes out, I'm not going to be updating it. It's going to be at 1.3.0, which I'm going to update and share it out to you guys. Right? I don't think one character will be enough. I like to wait until the actual major patch comes out, right, where all the characters situated, I've tested and done all that. Anyways, that is the end